Hi there, I'm Dani Henderson. Welcome back to my beautiful channel. My guest today is not only a good friend, a person I love, admire, and respect for all of her many, many abilities, but she's also an animal communicator at the highest level. She communicates with all animals, and she's done some incredible work and still does with horses and with herds, and it's amazing. And her name is Ginny Jablonski. Ginny, welcome, my love.
Thank you, Dani. It's nice to see you. We haven't seen each other for a while.
Well, we've tried to, and every time we have, we've been blocked for some ridiculous reason or another. But here we are today, and I'm so glad you're here. I wanted to also highlight to people before we start that some of the great work you do with adults is if they're ready to accept they are a spirit or a soul in a body, that you are here to help them embody that soul. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. From my perspective, what so many people are going through, whether consciously or subconsciously, is we are emptying out our nervous system of all of our accumulated traumas so that more of our soul, or what some people call spirit, that is available to us in this life to be embodied, can come in and we can achieve that internal oneness. And I've heard you speak about that before, that evolution is an inside job, that oneness is something that we experience inside when we open our heart and we truly align with our soul.
Yeah, that's so precious. And I do, every broadcast try and remind people like no one above another. We all have value and worth. No one gets to run you, rule you, own you. That's not why we came here. Doesn't matter who our parents or partners or siblings or whatever person we deem in authority to us. It doesn't matter who they are. They are still themselves on the same journey as us. And we often forget that we learn from people every day. And if we just keep thinking we're the teacher, then we're missing the value in the fact that we are also always, in my opinion, the student too. What say you to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think some metaphysical people would refer to that as the healer's mentality, where we get stuck at a milestone on our journey where we believe that we have the right or the ability to heal another person, and we get trapped in that. And some people, it's because they don't have the money to continue with the healing journey and get support from other people for things that they cannot perceive, or they don't know how to do soul retrieval for themselves or what have you. And that does seem to be happening a lot right now. It's a sticking point, I think. And the best way to witness that, I think, is where people are trying to annihilate one another. You just see people coming out and saying, this person's a fraud, or this person, did something horrible, or I'm right and they're wrong. A lot of I'm right and they're wrong, and trying to assassinate people, kick people out of the tribe, so to speak. That's the oldest wound. And according to Dr. David Hawkins, shaming and blaming is the lowest frequency on the consciousness scale. So if you're witnessing that, then heck, I'm a human too, and I've been on the journey going through all of these steps and continue to, and it certainly is a very difficult planet to be incarnate on. The complexity of the human subconscious, that because you're a hypnotherapist, and for I think decades you've witnessed the complexity of what creates the personality. And it's a very difficult planet to be on right now.
It's so incredible. And everything you're saying is really obviously creating thought in me to respond. And, you're talking about the people that set themselves up, and it's very difficult, as a lot of us have like had a little pop, at things we don't like. And that's okay to a point. If you know someone's deliberately harming and bringing false information, which there are people everywhere doing that. And one of the tells for me is if someone's espousing information, they need to say where they got it from. They are dishonoring leaders and thought leaders. And leader is different to guru, master, a leader in something that we all learn from. And then we gain that knowledge, we keep what resonates, we throw the rest away, or wherever. See, that sounds arrogant, but for me personally, I can only get where I'm going. I can't jump beyond someone if I'm not ready to embody information that either I don't agree with, it doesn't resonate, or I'm just not ready for. And that's why we're not masters, we're not gurus, and we're not gods. And sometimes when I put this information out, I'll get a comment from someone saying, yes, yes, because the only way is through Jesus. And it's not the only way. It's not the only way. And they themselves are shutting down because that program is so etched in them. They dare not think around it. Jesus isn't offended. He wants everyone to grow. He doesn't care to be used in that manner. Oh, yeah, the only way is Jesus. No, there's not just one way to self-realization and full embodiment of our beautiful soul. You mentioned also that the hypnotherapy work that I do and have done in the past for many, many years, a thing that concerns me today is many people doing the hypnotherapy online, hypnotizing people online, which to me is dangerous because the internet, I remember when I was in Costa Rica, how many times the internet went down. And, I never did it. I never did this where I left someone hanging. But imagine someone's in a trance-like state. They're on a journey. The hypnotist is there guiding. And then suddenly the hypnotist is gone. And then the person's left in that state, not able to come maybe completely out of it, although we do get out of it, but it can be scary for the patient or the client. And some of these people, mostly women, they're out there and they're giving stories like Dolores Cannon did, and I adore Dolores Cannon, but they are not in the body of the person they're hypnotizing, and they have no clue who or what is coming through the voice of the human that they have put under hypnosis. And that is a fact that we need to be careful of, because Dolores would say, there's no such thing as a bad ET, which is an absolute falsehood. It is false. We know there have been horrific reptilians, Dracos, and other motherfuckers that have harmed humanity on our planet. And some of these humans have been used to bring messages to lie and espouse the fact that we're all safe and you can be hypnotized and nothing can come into your body. That's complete nonsense. It's nonsense. What do you think?
Well, I've seen that in my work. I have definitely seen people being at the effect of other beings that are not them. I've seen people communicating with beings that they believed were their higher selves, and it was not. And Dani, that's why I teach beginning self-awareness and beginning energetic awareness. Another reason is because, as you said, there are so many legitimate perspectives. There's different language, there's different spiritual philosophy. There's not just one way to do something. And that's why I'm really hesitant to talk about this stuff. And I've turned down so many interview requests lately. And I've just been focusing on my own podcast and interviewing people who talk about their journey and how they got to where they are. And I only interview people who have legitimately gone on a deep, deep, deep inner excavation of their own psyche and their own consciousness, in order that we can demonstrate to people that it does change your life and it can make your life better and it is possible. I struggle sometimes to find words because I know sometimes I say things and you read the comments, on the video. If I define a word a little bit differently than someone defines a word, or I use a turn of phrase that isn't in alignment with somebody else's belief system. And there are so many people who are so highly educated and academic that they just can't let go of whatever that story is. And they start just blaming and shaming people who are legitimately trying just to support people on a true journey of self-awareness, not trying to write a book about how the universe works, just to help people understand themselves a little better. And I think that in almost any modality, not just hypnotherapy, there isn't a lot of integrity out there in the metaphysical community. People want to teach people how to activate their spiritual gifts, how to be a medium, how to be a psychic, how to talk to animals, how to read people, but they don't teach the beginning self-awareness that leads to discernment that you were speaking to earlier. How do people know who they're actually talking to? And if the being is a being of love, joy, and compassion, or the being is here just to mislead. And the reason people don't teach it is because they never did it themselves. They don't
That's
know.
right.
Or every person would have an introductory course that is required. And people contact me all the time. You know, I have a PhD, or I've been studying for 20 years and I want to be exempt from your level 1 and level 2 classes. I just want to go right to the healing or the animal communication. And I say, okay, if you can watch the first 3 videos of my 13 video series in module 1, I'll give them to you for free. If you know every single thing that I teach, there's a pretty safe bet you'll know every single thing that I teach in the subsequent 10 videos, then and talk to me and I'll interview you, then yes, I'll let. Nobody has ever taken me up on that. And the people that actually study, pardon me, the people that actually study with me and go, into, several of the classes are people that say, I've done this, and this. I've been around the world. I've studied with the Paco Caro in Peru. I've studied with, famous people on this network and that network, and people with PhDs, and people who've been in the metaphysical community for 20 or 30 years. And I have never healed so much as taking your level 1 course. And then they stay with me through all 7 levels. And I'm about to create an 8th level. And that really speaks to the embodiment. But, you had asked to talk about communicating with animals today. Well, if you can't communicate with yourself and you're not self-aware and you don't understand the consciousness that you are at the effect of, what makes any of us think we can understand what animals are at the effect of, right?
Yeah, that's so true. You mentioned the academics, the scholars. And again, it's not really humanity's fault, because humanity has been usurped and forced to go through certain programs from birth to adulthood. And part of the programming there is, if you have a PhD, a degree, a this, or that, it eliminates you from the masses. It puts you on a hierarchical, I call it academic snobbery. And the fact that that is theorizing, even if there's some practicality in their field of expertise, it is completely irrelevant. It has no bearing on the innateness of the human. No course, no degree, no PhD will ever be able to allow the being more in-depth information that they will never learn outside. It is an inside job. One of the greatest teachers for me always, and to this very day, children. You know how a child will suddenly walk across the floor and maybe trip or maybe fall and then start, or maybe want something that mommy or daddy say, no, no, or grandma, or whatever. They say, no, no. And the child is rageful in that 1 second, quantum second, rah, they're crying and they're screaming. And then a minute later, they're off to, oh, there's Teddy. That to me is a beautiful representation of how we let emotion or energy move through the body. Be like a baby, be like a toddler. We adults haven't learned, we've forgotten that skill, a fundamental basic human skill that we come in with, obviously, because the babies show us all the time. As adults, we're like, oh my God, I'm so mad that she said this and he said this, and we hold it. We hold it in the body, where the baby is alchemizing instantly, or dissolving the rage, the trigger, the neural synapses sparking in the brain, and they've moved on. But adults, my goodness, no, we hold on to shit, myself included. We hold on to stuff. If only we could remember the masters, if you want to call them masters, the children, the babies, the toddlers. What do you think about that?
Well, it's very similar to what animals do, and animals have always done. When there's a threat and the herd runs for a quarter mile or more, and now the threat is past, you'll see the animals shake and vibrate and release that trauma from their nervous system. And people, legitimate doctors, are teaching this now. Dr. Peter LaVine talks about it. And I remember watching a YouTube video where he was interviewed, and I apologize, I'm not certain of the incident. I think it was that he was involved in a car accident, and he lied down on the ground to release the trauma from his nervous system so he didn't have to carry it. And somebody walked up to him and said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm releasing the trauma from my nervous system," just like an animal would do, just like a child would do. And it's become, well, I don't, we have been judged if we have a physical reaction to pain or a strong reaction. And I think more so in somatic healing and mind body healing, it's now becoming more acceptable to have a visceral emotional release from the nervous system. But that can involve a wave of energy or heat in the head, a little bit of coughing, nausea, your heart feeling, rapid heartbeat, or just feeling as if you're being squeezed, right? And these things haven't been in vogue to talk about. Now they are in the last 10, 20 years, much more so. But that's what animals do. And I think if we managed our own nervous system in the way that we were meant to, I don't know if we were meant to do it in 3D. It feels like 3D was just a giant setup to see how chaotic everybody could be and potentially survive. But I'm certainly one that is convinced that as we move into 4D, and I know some people say we're skipping 45, wherever we're going, as we evolve into whatever next iteration of humanity, I am certain that our mirror neurons are not going to work the same way that animals do, programmed for safety, security, survival, playing off one another, sensing threats. When we as humans perceive a trauma that has happened to someone else in 3D, that trauma was registered in our nervous system as if it happened to us. That is no longer necessary from my perspective. That is one of the things we're doing, upgrading our nervous system, talking to our mirror neurons, and working with the body to work in concert with the soul to be able to be in the storm, but not of the storm, on the earth, but not of the earth, right?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. There's a whole array there of information and examples that you give so beautifully, as you always do, Ginny. I love talking to you. And many people that come on my channel, they love to see you. So I know there'll be a lot of joy seeing Ginny Jablonski back on my channel. A couple of things I want to say is that, again, for me as an individual, many people are set up the same way as me and others are set up different. For me, it's been experiencing in the body, unfortunately for me, in my own, or fortunately, that I've decided to walk a path where if I haven't experienced it, I can't really relate to it, although that's definitely changed. But there was an example in 2020 and 2021 when I was living in Costa Rica, as you know, and I'd had my beautiful fiance had died very suddenly, and I was with him when he dropped and went unconscious, and that was such a shock and trauma that I was carrying in my body. And then right after that, I'm in the jungle in Costa Rica in this remote village, walking to my hotel, and a giant, huge young guy is waiting to basically kill me in the jungle and attack me, and I had to fight him, and I did fight him off, and that was a trauma, of course. And then all I could think about when I got back to the hotel, because there were children there, was like not to scare the kids, so I shoved it down deeper and then had to deal with it. And then right after that, I'm walking down the road in Santa Teresa, which is the main village where I was living. And these giant trucks, oh my God, they go so fast. They're called Mack trucks. They're giant. Oh my God, they ran over a boy. Oh my God, on his motorbike right in front of me. I'm the last person he saw. And it was just terrible. And he got crushed under the wheels, and it was right in front of me. And it was so traumatic. And I remember doing what I had to do. I prayed over him, whatever. And I remember walking back to where I was living and screaming and crying on the road, saying, F you, like that's 3 things in a row. And they want people to go into the program. Oh, things happen in threes. They don't always, but if we make that our reality, then they do. But anyway, for whatever reason, this was a journey I was on, where I was at. I remember going back to the hotel, and my body kept shaking, and I was thinking about the 3 traumas in a row, and they were really severe, like 2 deaths and 1 near death, and then, as you said, like that doctor that laid down to process and allow that energy to come out. That's what I did after that. I kept sitting every time I got triggered. I was in a restaurant a few days after his name was Chusky, that got crushed to death. God love you, Chusky. And sitting with friends, and we were right by the road where it happened, and then we heard this noise, some kind of an accident, and it sounded to me in my head like the truck crushing Chusky and his motorbike and that crushing noise. And I was like, at the table, and my friends are like, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like that. And I remember looking at myself and knowing, oh my God, I am completely owned and paralyzed by this experience. And the feeling was terrible. I felt like complete metal inside my body. There was no organicness, there was no connection to self. It was just pure terror beyond terror. And I thought, Dani, if you don't handle this, you're going to end up in a really poor way. And so then I went more of a journey, which I've been on my whole life, to do the inner healing. And now it's easier to talk about Jeff and Trisky and the boy that tried to rape and kill me in the jungle, and which I did take to court, by the way, and he is getting help. Anyway, oh my gosh. And again, it was a journey and a lesson in how much power do I have over the life of the boy that attacked me. I could have put him in prison. Well, he was a young boy that was really in trouble and being demonized. And when he was trying to kill me, his eyes, he looked like a reptilian. He wasn't, he was a demonic. And as he's trying to choke me, I remember I had my umbrella and I smashed him in the throat with it. And as soon as I did that, his eyes popped back to being the young guy that he was. And whatever was possessing him left in that moment. And so I could have been, I would have never been able to live with that as the person I am if I had said, yeah, put him in prison forever. He needed help. He had rehabilitation. It is possible for some people. But anyway, this inner journey that we're on, Ginny, alchemizing the trauma, being more of who we be, as you say, recognizing we're a soul, a spirit inside these beautiful bodies. How would you recommend that people might gently, other than getting your beautiful courses, which are magnificent, but how would you speak to them right now? The first step in acknowledging there's trapped trauma in the body, you're responding to outside stimuli that triggers that trauma. How can you calm that?
Well, this is addressed 50,000 times a day on YouTube. Firstly, I would say that in the reality that we're coming out of now, 3D reality, the body was the messenger for whatever was out of balance, right? There are many ways that one can calm the nervous system. Simply turning your head to the side and yawning, as big a yawn as you can, is going to some degree, reset the vagus nerve, which comes down in front of the heart and behind the stomach, right? So we know that, I might have that backwards. I'm not a doctor. And so we know that breathing can help us focus, that, and some people say that breathing can help the soul come into the body. Well, for people who are very traumatized and their nervous system is filled with trauma and they have many fractured soul shards or traumatic events when they were younger, the soul really isn't meant to be in the body yet, because the body is still carrying so much trauma. But certainly breath work is one. Self-awareness is my go-to. That's what I teach. To focus on our heart, put our hand on our chest, our heart, and determine if what we're actually feeling belongs to us. Because as you said with that young boy, that, an energy came into him. That's happening with a lot of people right now, Dani. You and I both know a lot of people that have people in their family, people at work, friends, their significant others who are temporarily being taken over. And they're just not self-aware enough to say, wait a second, that was not kind, loving, or compassionate. What is going on? Is this me? And the number one thing we can do is find where there is some resonant frequency within us, a similar wound. Some people have shared wounds. Some people have trauma bonds. Some people have attachment disorder. A lot of people who are labeled empathic or self-identify as empathic, it's really actually 100 things that are going on within them that is creating this uncontrollable perception of other people's pain and suffering. So to be able to determine whether it's yours or not is first and foremost the most important thing I think people can do.
Yeah, it's very important. You know, there's a lot of people that say, I just don't feel myself today. I feel off. I feel this. I feel that. So there's always that the body holds everything. The body stores everything. The body's constantly communicating, constantly giving messages, constantly trying to get our attention. And so that's great value, everything you were saying there. I personally believe that our soul is in the body and resides within the heart. That's my belief. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a new trend right now with people saying, "Oh, the new human is the one that listens to the gut." And I'm like, "Wait a second." A long time ago, we were meant to coordinate the heart, the gut, and the brain neurology and run everything through the heart so that we're moving toward perceiving through the heart. And I agree with you, Dani, very much that if we're being driven by the gut, by doubt, by a sense of unworthiness or being disempowered, and we're just running by our gut, or we're being told to create in our reality through our gut, then we're definitely not working at the level of consciousness that is being expressed through the heart. And that's a bit of a complicated journey to describe. We could be here for 6 or 8 hours to really talk about how that happens. But it is concerning that it's all of a sudden, a new idea, or this is, the future that we can expect is to be steered or guided by our gut. And my response is, Dani, I agree with you that if we are perceiving in our mind or we are perceiving in our gut, we are out of alignment with our heart and our soul. And so that is my message, and it's been my message every day and will continue to be until the day I pass.
Wow, that's beautiful. You know, when we talk about the brain, the heart, the gut, and the link together, you know, we could also look at that in a kind of more symbolic way or verbal way as the Trinity, the three, the Son, the Father, the Holy Ghost, the Mother, the angel, the Spirit, whatever. There's so many different ways to describe it. But the heart being, I'm always saying to people, I truly, truly believe, me, Dani Henderson, I didn't learn this anywhere. So if I did, I would quote the person I learned it from, because that's what we should be doing, honoring people from before, or even now that we're getting information from, honor them, honor them. But I truly believe that I've completely forgotten what I was going to say now. Hold on, let me see if I can get that back. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the heart. So what do I truly believe? Oh, that we read. The heart, we read with our heart. We read with our heart, our spirit essence, our soul essence. The brain is the computer. The brain is the computer that holds the programs that automate the body the second we're born, and that downloads the habits and the teachings that we've been programmed with from guardians, from mothers, fathers, teachers, etc. But we read with the heart. And as you know, if we measure the electromagnetic field, which is possible and it has been done, that the brain frequency, even with all the massive synapses and neural pathways, etc., and the electrical vibration from the brain, which exists, if you measure the heart resonance, the heart brain, it is minimum 3 times bigger and wider. And for me, much safer. The heart, they call it the heart, gut, brain. Of course, the gut, the intuition, it's almost like a physical feeling for some. It certainly is for me. It's all connected, yes. But then do we really need to bother too much about the detail? No. What you and I are trying to do is help the beautiful viewers that will see this or hear this to remember that they are magnificent. This is their body. They get all this information, and it is their job to disseminate what resonates, what feels good for me, what sounds right to me, what can I process, what can I help with? Because there are so many. I remember a woman running off in the jungle when I was in Costa Rica, very spiritual woman, left one guy, thank goodness. I'll tell you a quick story about that too. That was amazing. I love this lady, and her partner, I just could not. There are some people that they're so, bless him, owned by dark. It was terrifying. It was terrifying for me. And anyway, and of course I wasn't in a good place because of the 3 traumas I just expressed there, but I loved her. And one morning I'm coming out of sleep, and there was a man who was telling me, and I instantly knew it was her dad. I didn't even know her dad had died. her dad's there, and he's giving me a word, a Jewish word that I'd never heard. I didn't know it, Hebrew word. And I remembered the word, and I called her up and I said to her, has your dad passed? And she said, yes, 6 years ago. I'm like, oh my God. I said, listen, I have to tell you something. He came to me right in between sleep and awakening this morning, and he told me a word. And I don't know this word, but here is the word. And to this moment, I can't remember it. It was just for her. And I told her the words, and she went, oh my God, that means demon. And I said, I'm sorry, your dad is trying to tell you too that the guy you're with has entities in his space. He's got visitors in his space. Anyway, she left him, not because of anything I said, but, her own journey. She left him, and she goes with another guy. A guru, a master, a this or that. And she jumped from one horror to another. But the next horror looks so more glamorous and so much more enlightened and so much. She's the spirit, she's the power. But because she's been so dogmatically disciplined by men, she's being given the mirror, the example of seeing what she thinks is there, but then realizing that, wow, she already embodies that and more. And there's no control aspect needed. So the other guy would like squeeze and hurt his body and do things. And she'd call me and she'd be like, well, I'm trying this new thing. And I'd be like, holy shit balls, what are you doing? But I wouldn't say that unkindly because she's on a journey. She was very tender. I'm like, darling, does that feel good to you? Do you think that's something you should be doing? Does it feel all right to you? Are you allowed not to do it? She goes, oh no, he needs me to do it. I'm like, no, he doesn't. You do it if you feel it's right. Anyway, long story short, she left him. Thank goodness she left him. So we get examples all the time. We get shown gurus, masters all the time. We get told people, do this technique, or the gut will always tell you. The heart will always read the room for you. And then the information that comes from those areas in the body then create information that goes to a thought that's created in the brain. That's what I believe.
Well, I turned on a YouTube video, I don't know, about a year ago. A friend of mine had started a new podcast, excuse me. And she has, famous people on, and everybody has a PhD, or they're a sociologist or a psychologist or a scientist of some sort. And they're mid discussion, and the woman says, no one else can put thoughts in your head. That's just not true. Click. I turned it off. I mean, you and I, they say there's one earth and many worlds. So there may be other worlds or other timelines or other realities where this just simply isn't true. But the reality I live in is that people can be affected all day long by other people's thoughts and other people's projections and opinions. And that's really where I start with people, is where do our thoughts come from? Where do our belief systems come from? And how do we determine if the underlying programming that we are at the effect of even belongs to me, or does it belong to my ancestors, or does it belong to my first boyfriend or my college professor, or the person that abused me, right? Because we can be at the effect of other people's stuff that gets deposited in our field. That is very, very true. And I see that the direction humanity is going is, not to negate the wonderful processor or interface that the brain is, not to negate the stomach and the neurology of the stomach and the wisdom of the stomach, but that the internal oneness that we are talking about means that those subtle bodies and chakras, as they have been defined in the past, are collapsing, and our architecture is completely revolving around the heart. It is completely based on all information flowing through the heart first. When we perceive and we hear and we take information in, and when we speak and we share information, that it's all coming from the heart. Informed by the brain? Yes, of course. Informed by our elbows and our feet? Yes, of course. But working as one, every organ, every gland, working as one with the heart as a primary messenger for the divine within us.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I am so in love with humanity. There's so many layers and levels that we collectively have broken down in the last couple of years in particular. And I feel truly it really is the great awakening, the awakening of the beings that we are, the individual and the collective. And there's this this tug of war in many ways. And there's so many people that they're so beautiful and they're just so pure and they always have been. And yet there's something that still allows them to be owned and to be dominated. When I was 18, I had a boyfriend, like my first proper consenting boyfriend, Gary. I loved Gary. I think it's his birthday today, actually, December the 8th, as we record this. He was so lovely and so fun. And my real, like I said, bro, he was a lot older than me. I think he was like 5 or 6. I think I was 18 and he was 24. And he'd traveled a lot and I hadn't, I'd only been to London at that stage. And oh no, I had been to Greece. I had been to Greece to Athens and Glyfada. I always wanted to see the Acropolis from a very young age. So anyway, so me and Gary wanted to marry me, wanted to be engaged. I was 18. I was very young. And I remember him saying to me one time, but I've been to Tokyo and Japan and I've been here and I've been there. And, I've been there, so you don't need to go there. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, like, oh, if I marry you, I can't see what I need to see. I can't. I remember the feeling of just feeling so enclosed, but then being so confused because I didn't know if I had the power as an 18-year-old young girl to be able to then create or make something happen that I wanted to happen. Would I be trapped by the dominance that I allowed in of this lovely guy? And Gary was a great mirror for me. He was very controlling, very jealous, but he was young and growing too. Another thing we hold on to back in the past and this, but I think we've all got to own our past thoughts as younger beings. Now we're older beings. Now I can look at Gary and say, wow, thank you. I still love you. I realize the lessons that you showed me. Even though I left him, I broke up with him, I broke his heart, I hurt him, but it wasn't right for us to be together at that time, but again, an invitation as people are on their healing journey, you guys out there, invitation to go back and look at the people that you feel really hurt you the worst, were controlling, were jealous, or remember they were growing too, not okay that you were treated badly, not okay, obviously. Sometimes we really have to spell it out, don't we, Ginny? Because there's always going to be someone that says, yeah, but this happened. Ginny, if we took a few minutes to tell people just about your life, just 5 minutes of the horrors and the abuses and the violent traumas that you have suffered. Because I think people sometimes look at the people on screen and go, oh, yeah, but what do they know? They've never been through anything. I think the reason we're here is because we have been through shit and we have a determined love to help other people. But yeah, so the forgiveness of self, that we didn't do anything that deserved the treatment that we got, forgiveness, let that go. And then look at the person through honest eyes and really feeling with the heart and go, wow, like I do. I speak for myself. I look at Gary as an example and I say, thank you. You pissed me off. You were jealous. You were controlling. You tried to stop me traveling. In the end, I had to break up with you. But I thank you, Gary, for the lessons that you gave me. It made me stronger and it made me wiser. And now I have compassion when I think back about him, which leads me to a massively important point. And that is that I have now changed, literally, I have changed my past because I go down my timeline with love and compassion for Gary that I didn't have and held on to rage and harm and hurt and judgment for all of my life.
You hear people say today, healing isn't necessary. You can't change the past, just live in the now. And as someone who, like you, has been through quite a bit and who has undertaken a very intentional journey to forgive myself and other people, but more importantly, to release judgment of other people and myself, I can say 100% that we can change the past, we can reprogram our neurology, we can change our reality just by forgiving and releasing judgment, because it's proven that our memories, which most are incorrect because they have emotion attached to them, create our reality. Our memories create our reality, and our memories, for the most part, represent our unhealed wounds. And that can be affected by our judgments and emotions in the past, or other people's judgments and emotions in the past. And to me, it represents my life's work, what you just described. This is the tiny little lane that I occupy on earth, with the 1,000, or 1 million opportunities to be different and have a different message. My message is we can change our reality by shifting the past. And I can perceive timelines, and I can perceive people's subconscious. And depending on how close I stand to them energetically, I can perceive the nervous system, the entire physical body, where they are expressing their consciousness, their meridians, their chakras, their soul body. And much like the way a shaman would look at the assemblage point and diagnose someone based on, sort of positions of a clock where the assemblage point was, I can look and see where is your soul, right, in relation to your physical body. And if their soul is directly over them, right, that's a good indication that they're in alignment with their soul. And that doesn't happen just magically. People generally, in my reality anyway, don't just stumble into complete alignment with their soul. It's something that we all have experienced in order to share the journey with other people, to let them know what a profound shift it can make when we do go back and revisit the things that trigger us, the things that keep the looping thoughts, or the emotions turning that keep us up at night, or that cause us to react in ways we don't plan or expect in conversation with others, or in our close interpersonal relationships where patterns just keep repeating. Those things can be cleared by doing exactly what you just described, Dani. We can completely change our reality and our relationship, not only to humanity, but to individual people, our career, and our animals as well.
Let's go a little bit more into the animal communication that you do, because we recognize that there are people that are carrying so much wounding and pain, and their animals, their dogs especially, love them unconditionally, and animals will absorb the pain of their beloved parent, adult, owner. And some of these animals get very sick. How can we help people understand, through your experience, how to talk to their animals, to let them remember they're the animal, they get to have their life, they're not here to take all our pain?
Well, there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. And I realize why you're asking the question. Every animal is as unique as every human being. Some animals absolutely have agreements with their owners to be present in their life experience and teach them lessons, or resolve karma from, and I know you don't like that word, so I don't really use the word, but it's a ubiquitous word, but judgment, like let go of judgment or forgive themselves for another life experience, right? And I have clients that are having that exact experience right now. A woman that adopted a cat, and the cat is literally here to say, if you forgive yourself, I'll forgive myself. I had a client once whose horse desperately wanted to be a healer. And so the horse saw the way she was running her energy system, and the horse copied the woman's energy system. Well, the woman had attachment disorder. So it looked like a pipe was going in her mouth and then from her throat chakra down to her heart. And anybody could just walk up to this pipe and, blow their trauma into the pipe, and then her heart would be triggered. Well, the horse didn't know that the way she was managing her energy was based on trauma from her youth, attachment disorder, right? So if you have attachment disorder, one of the many symptoms can be, if somebody needs you to be the bad guy, you show up as the bad guy. You don't intend when you pick up the phone or answer the phone to be the bad guy, but somehow by the end of the conversation, you are the bad guy in the conversation, right? And there's many, many ways to describe it, but literally this horse mirrored what the woman was doing. Well, the horse ended up very, very sick and self-harming, just slamming its head against a tree to the point where it was bleeding and had skin hanging off itself and its head and neck, because a young person had come to the ranch who was self-harming. And so the structure, the energetic process of attachment disorder was managing the horse, and the horse was self-harming. And then eventually the horse took on a lot of darkness and a lot of human emotion that didn't belong to us, that didn't belong to the horse. And what I meant to say was that if you consider yourself a healer, and there are many wonderful healers out there, my definition of healer is one who can help somebody remember the truth of who they are, that they can truly heal themselves, that they have this power. Well, when we are in the definition of healer as, I have this magical power to heal you, 9 times out of 10, that healer is taking on the person's energy, but never really addressing the cause. Because for you, I can never forgive you for yourself. I can never release your judgment of yourself. I might be able, as a powerful being of light, to move off some energy temporarily, some consequences, some thoughts, some emotions, some stuck energy. But the fact is, we can never address the cause for another being. Well, a lot of animals don't know that, and not enough humans say that out loud. So right now, there's a great number of animals, Dani, who believe they're here on the planet to help humanity ascend and to help their owners and to heal their owners. And that's one small conversation. The other is, there are animals who were traumatized and actually have attachment disorder and believe they need to manage the energy in the room so that they'll get their dinner, or they'll get their walk, or there won't be abuse in the home, or any number of things. And that is, we can say that we're martyring ourselves, and we can say that we're creating coping mechanisms. We can say that we're taking on other people's burdens out of safety, security, survival. We remembered when we were younger that we had these abilities to sort of manage the room or even read the room. And now we have heightened that awareness, but we're not necessarily consciously aware that that's what we're doing. And that's what animals are doing too. Now, not all of them. Again, like I said at the beginning, some animals actually have soul agreements. I just interviewed a lovely woman named Tammy Billups about animal soul agreements on my podcast. And that is certainly true. And there are some animals here who truly are meant to bring forward wisdom. But when they get here, just like a child, they can be corrupted and misdirected. They can be told by the owner that they have that it's their job to carry other people's burdens, or they're so wise and they're so powerful that they are these earth healers or human healers. And so there's a great misunderstanding, and the misunderstandings can take many different forms. So it would take us hours to go down every path and discuss every single way that this is happening. But your specific question was, how can a human being talk to an animal and help them remember that they are sovereign? That is to have this conscious awareness of all of these little tidbits that I've shared, and say to your animal, You are an infinite being of light, as I am an infinite being of light. You have the power within yourself to heal yourself as I do. It is not your job to heal me or anyone, the cat next door, the little boy down the street that might be being traumatized in a highly inappropriate way. Don't want to say the word, don't want to get you in trouble on YouTube. And to say to these animals, I see you, and we together can change our reality. But the more darkness or other people's emotion we take on, you know, earlier you were saying that we should honor the people that we learned from. And I know one of the people that you most highly regard is Chris LaVine. And one of the people that I most highly regard is Michael Tamora. And they both came through the Psychic Institute in very real ways for decades, the Berkeley Psychic Institute. And Michael was very well known for saying that all of the pain that we feel is energy that belongs to someone else. Now, I know for certain that I have felt pain that was my own emotional energy. So I'm not sure that it's exactly 100%, but I'm certain that it's very close to 100%, that the pain that we feel in our physical body, if we haven't had an accident or injury, or if we haven't been wounded through some environmental disaster, or, you know, right, all of those caveats, that taking on other people's emotions and energy creates pain within our physical body, because what did we say at the beginning of the call? The body is the messenger for what is out of alignment with the energy field and with the soul, with our consciousness. And when we take on other people's stuff, it creates illness and imbalance. Now, I'm not saying that the food that animals are eating may not be creating, you know, imbalance or illness, and that's certainly true. And the animals can't believe that their food is going to kill them unless the humans tell them your food is going to kill you. So we can't blame it all on what we believe if we are becoming ill or animals are becoming ill. But we can certainly say that there's a good chance that the animal will experience pain, disharmony, disease in some way if they take on other people's energy. It's very, very important.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much. That beautiful download there that I know is going to help people understand more and be different, maybe more mindful in their communication with their beloved animals. A few things you said there, so many great things. You said about the body being the messenger. I have lost count how many times I've said this on my channel, but when we think we're helping someone, we listen to their problems, or we give them a healing technique, or we think we've healed them, and we've taken on their junk. So their energy now is transferred, like the lady with the pipe. Their energy is transferred into our vessel. And I know this because I've lived it. And then they walk away feeling amazing, and we feel terrible because our body is trying to process energy that doesn't belong to us. And all that's going to happen is the energy that we are suffering and trying to heal the other person, whether it's conscious or unconscious, is going to go back to its organic resonance, meaning it's going to leave this body that doesn't belong in and go back to the person. So we haven't helped them at all. All we've done is, in our goodwill, is prevent them from a healing opportunity where we may have imparted something, kept our beautiful energy frequency safe and contained, given them the love, respect, and honor, and any knowledge that we have that we know can help them, but not open up without, and then just absorb, because we are empathic. And this is the journey of the empath, most definitely. And so, again, knowing that don't be a victim, don't be a martyr, help people, but don't take on their pain, because it's going to hurt you and it's still going to hurt them. So you've done nothing but slow down their journey. The other thing you mentioned, karma. The only reason why I personally don't like that word is because I've seen it, and I know it to be an earth program penetrated as a way to make people who suffer accept their suffering. And it's not their fault, it's the program, right? And they say, oh, it must be my karma. Really? No, you don't accept that. It's not okay. It's not your karma. And that also, again, because they don't want don't want the beings that created the matrix that we're in and the programs that we're in to stifle and enslave the human, lest they be able to be the self fully realized being that they are, which is what the Christ came to teach us, to be the fully self-realized being that we are, the God spark, the soul that's in us. Oh gosh, I've forgotten again. I'm sorry, but hopefully there's some good stuff in there.
Let me just say, our friend Alex, our mutual friend, is very well known for saying, yes, what we will be left with in the end is all of the places that we have withheld love. So you could use that language. Where are we withholding love? And what is causing us to withhold love? Our own judgment of ourselves, right? Where are we resisting or withholding love? Certainly, we can resist gratitude. We can resist playfulness. We can resist joy. But if we are not able to open our heart and we are withholding love, there's sort of a parallel track there. But 100%, Dani, what you just said, that the introduction of this paradigm or this belief system that karma is gonna, make people suffer, don't worry, the universe will take care of it. It's really only that person's judgment of themselves. It's not your judgment of the person. Your judgment of the person actually harms you and only you. Just like your unforgiveness of someone doesn't really harm the other person. It gives them power over us, right? But back to something you just said, I cannot tell you the number of people I have heard, humans and animals, say, oh, yes, I took on that person's emotion, but I don't want to give it back to them. I don't want to hurt them. No. And then they hold on to it. And that happens with a lot of animals and with a lot of humans as well. And the animals will say, but I don't want to hurt the person. And then you have to give the lecture that you cannot transmute these energies. If they truly belong to the person, it must be returned to, at very least, their higher self. If it can be released to the earth, great, release it to the earth. Let the earth sort it out, right? But there are a number of healers, and I have many clients who are healers who are famous, and they don't want to let go of their wounds because they believe that's where they get their psychic ability, or they believe they'll be different, or it's a very twisted belief system right now, and people being at the influence of other beings that they believe to be benevolent guides or their higher self, and they're guided to not be healed. And if I may give you one example, Dani, did you want to cut this interview short, or? Okay. One of the very first psychics that I ever had a session with, I didn't even know what a psychic was. I just had a near-death experience. I could see all the stuff multidimensionally. And I knew, because I had 4 near-death experiences in my life, I had a direct connection to my higher self. My higher self would show me the problem, would never give me the answer, right? Would always say, here's something to overcome, or here's something to be aware of, or here's something to sort of noodle out, right? But never just magically give me answers. And now I just lost my train of thought. But what was I speaking about? I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Literally, like in real time, you and I are being interfered with, because that, right? So. And that's so great. It's funny because I saw a little orb that flew by, and I didn't have time to like connect, and then I forgot my thought, but I've remembered it. So while I remembered mine to share with the audience, you maybe will remember yours. But what I was going to say is that when people have these terrible things happen over and over and over and over again, and they say, oh, it must be my karma because society has dictated that it must be your karma, right? Really, it could be one of your guides. Yeah. And I've been saying this 1,000 times that we're at a stage now, and this is to the famous people that are so scared of losing their fame and their money or whatever, their millions or their esteem, because they will not do the work. They're going to get hammered no matter what happens, because we got a job to do, and there's no more, all the old systems don't work anymore. But those of us that believe we have guides, and we allow our guides to run us and to influence us, how do we know they're from love? We don't. There are so many mimicking. There are people I use Val Thor as a great example. There are people saying, I am speaking to Val Thor and I am speaking to Archangel Michael. And are you? Are you? Oh, how dare you? Yes, I am. I've done the work and I've done this course and are you? Then fine, then good for you if you can sit there in truth. But I also have connected with what I thought was Archangel Michael before, and it wasn't Archangel Michael. And so I've said to people, that think they have guides or do have guides or whatever, their guidance system is that if you truly are on a journey of self-realization, self-actualization, self-love, unconditional love for self, and you realize that the spark of God in you, the spark of the creator that created you, whether you call it a bunch of aliens that did it, a singular God that did it, a man in the sky, it doesn't matter, but you're here. And you're here to work through something. And so with that spark in you, connecting that to the love that you came from or the love that you are, you have to have the courage, I believe, to imagine lining all the guides up, even if it's Jesus, Mother Mary, and look at them in the face and fire them. Because if you don't trust your energy and clean out the lower vibrations that you've been living in, that we all have, that I have, that we have as a collective, because we are ascending and the planet's ascended and we've got to ascend with her because we're part of her beingness, then if you keep telling yourself stories like, oh no, I couldn't fire them because, that's ego, you're stuck in ego, you're never going to get out of the old programs that are keeping you stuck. Have the courage, because if you are connected with Jesus, Mary, Allah, Hashem, whoever, whatever you want to call it, and it's truly loving, it won't care if you fire it, because it will be right there. It'll be right there when you've cleared out your junk and you've let your soul ascend and you're in your light, or it's all here and you're embodying more of you, then the beloveds that truly have your back will be there right with you. But people go, oh no, I couldn't do that. The victim and the martyr again. Well, I'm just going to fire everyone, but you stay there in the corner. If you do that, you're trapped. You're trapping yourself. It's your ego. It's a trap. It's a lie. Now, so I say to everyone, fire your guides, because your guides interfere with you. And the karma that you think society says, oh, it's your karma. It could be guidance around you that you've let in that's messing with your life, pushing someone to cheat, pushing someone away, making sure you don't get that job, bringing darkness into your house that's hurting your children. These are things right now, not to shy away from, but just to even just think, just contemplate. It doesn't resonate, fine, let it go, but at least hear the words so you can run them through your system. The other thing that you said was, or that we're talking about is, we're programmed to repeat over and over and over and over again, repeat things until we recognize that there may be something that doesn't work for us anymore. The mind control is so out of control. And here's a beautiful example to humanity. We've known from young kids, everyone watching this, about UFOs, unidentified flying objects. Now, because the governments and the militaries are forced to admit that there are other beautiful beings and other beautiful planets in this beautiful solar system that we inhabit, they are trying to force us in real time to change the word that is deeply embedded, which is UFO. They're trying to force us to say UAP. And I say, shove it where the sun don't shine and recognize that you are being mind controlled in the moment when you've always known unidentified flying object, and now they're trying to call it unidentified aerial phenomena or whatever else they want to call it. It is a UFO. It is opening up a whole world of knowledge for all of us that we've never been able to have access to, that we have access to. And if we choose to adopt the mind control program of saying UAP, I do not believe that we'll be able to resonate with the truth of this planet that is opening itself to us on and off planet. What do you think?
Yes. I don't know how Reverend Lamont refers to this energy, but Michael Tamora would refer to this energy as control energy, the energy that did not want you to be able to make your point, that did not want me to be able to make my point. And I remember now, though, and I sat here and I grounded myself and I shined my light and I was totally listening to everything you were saying, 100%, Dani. And I think that there are certain people that represent the control energy. Nice, plain vanilla word for it, right? do not want us to say these things. So I'm going to tell my story. And I full body chills. Okay. The very first psychic I ever went to, she told me, oh, my guides are telling me that your mom was a really bad person. And they're showing me this ship's wheel and all of the spokes on the wheel and all of the people that she has harmed. So you don't have to worry about forgiving her. Because my first question to a psychic was, I'm wondering if all my pain and my trauma and my losing my life and everything I ever worked for, literally every friend I ever had, my job, my dignity and self-respect at that time, has to do with my relationship with my mother. She said, absolutely not. My guides are telling me you don't have to forgive her. She's a horrible person. She's harmed a lot of people. In that moment, I knew she was full of it. In that moment, I knew, no, actually, thank you very much, but I am certain that my journey is going to include a modicum of self-awareness, a little bit of humility, and a lot of forgiveness, right? Years later, and I'll try to think, 7 or 8 years later, I met a woman who, unbeknownst to me, the first psychic I ever went to was her spiritual counselor, but I did not know. And this woman had been my friend. We both ride horses and sort of lived in the same area. And she texted me one day and she said, my horse told me I need to talk to you. Will you come over to the house? And I'm like, okay, So I went over and I asked the horse, what do you need? What do you want? What do you, what's this about? And the horse said, talk to this woman about healing, explain to her what healing entails. So she was dressed very nicely. And, I sort of came in boots and, ranch boots and jeans. And I'm sitting there and she's asking me 101 questions. And before I knew it, we were 3 hours into her asking me questions. And I'm like sinking in my chair. I'm exhausted. And I'm just like, how could I have possibly been here for 3 hours? And at the end, she said to me, well, I know that you do help people and you're very good at what you do because I see the evidence of it in our community and, on your Facebook page or whatever. But you're just not for me. Mm-hmm. I just don't believe this. I just don't believe that we need to forgive. And such person has told me that many times. So there are spiritual counselors and psychics and advisors out there telling people not to forgive, that healing isn't a thing. There was a podcast the other day a girlfriend of mine listened to, and she called me up and she said, you won't believe this, I just almost wrecked my car. I said, what's going on? She said, I was listening to a podcast and the woman asked the person that was interviewing her, certain groups of metaphysical or mystic people are saying now that healing isn't a thing, that you really don't need to heal, just be in the now or whatever. And the woman just called it for what it was, just absolute and total BS. And that's just not even a part of her reality. And I think, Dani, that the control energy, and yes, even the mind control, there's so much confusion, there's so much chaos. They thrive on that. They thrive on people in the metaphysical community, if there is a community, negating one another's message. They want people to be confused. They want people not to trust anybody. They want people to not believe anything anybody says, and they want people to give up. They want people to give up. And that's this control energy. And that's what Michael called it. I don't know what Dr. Lamont called it, but that's what has.
Yeah, that's what's definitely, it's there, it's pervasive. And especially as the light is holding itself and raising itself, and the darkness is trying to suppress the light, because then the darkness cannot be here in whatever regard, whatever story we want to give that darkness, whatever story we want to give that lightness. We are in something that is happening on this planet. And again, wherever we are in the world, whatever religion or whatever instructional thought system we have been programmed with, which I refer to as religion, the man-made, you have to do this, otherwise this, or like I said earlier, somebody will get so far and then they'll go, well, yeah, everything you said is right, but the only way is through Jesus. It is not. It is not the only way. Oh, no, it is. Oh, sinner, you got the devil. That's the devil speaking. God, what a bloody, trot that one out again. Why don't you? How many times has that been trotted out? That's the devil. Oh, as a little girl and I saw an angel. Are you sure it wasn't a devil? It definitely wasn't a devil because I saw a ton of devils. So here we are. People listen and they take what resonates and then they remove or don't absorb. Maybe they're not ready. Maybe they've already passed that. Maybe that's not true. But we as an individual, we get to choose that. And so one of the many reasons I love having you on my channel, love talking to you, love your brilliant knowledge. And I want to say to the viewers out there and the listeners, Ginny and I don't know how many, 5, 6, 7 over the last 2 years that I've had this channel. We've done so many drops together, you and I. And so, guys, there's so much more of Ginny, her background. I would go on my channel, click on videos, and just scroll down towards the more of the bottom, because that's where our first video is together, where you tell us the story of when you were a high-level, high-trained security guard, physically trained like a ninja, protecting the Saudi royal family. Oh, yeah, that's Ginny Jablonski. She has so many stories. But realities, like life experiences. So anyone could come on and look at you and say, what does she know? I had an old bag on the other day. It's so funny. This old bag on one of my comments, she was like, who are you to create the galactic and spiritual informers connection? And I just deleted her. Of course, just delete a comment like that. I'm like, if I was to want to get in my ego and like protect myself against her judgment, which is what I could have done, rather than just go delete, go away. But it's funny, how anybody would even imagine that somebody could do, say, the work I'm doing in the Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection, bringing disclosure to the planet in the way that I can, with the people I know are real, and everyone to their own, everyone's choice to their own. But again, then the spiritual journeys and the physical, the traumas and the violence, all the rest of it, I don't need to explain to anyone. And that's what I'm saying about going on my channel to look at your journey with me, that anyone that just sees you for the first time here, because there are new people coming. Well, there are people being taken off my channel every single day, removed. God, it's not me, guys. It's not me doing it. It's BoobTube and Facebook. But anyway, the body of knowledge that you hold, that you have, the amount of animals, oh my God, Ginny, that you've literally brought back from the brink. We did that beautiful Zoom where there were so many people. We were Zooming in. There was 15 people-ish. I forget the exact number. And we were live watching you connect with horses at a ranch. Oh my God, that's on my channel too, guys. It was so amazing. And I will say, no, I'm not going to find the link for you. We're doing the work, Ginny and I. We're bringing you the information. Go scroll down yourself. I know people make playlists and stuff, and but sometimes the person receiving the information for free, of course, go do some seeking yourself. Go look. That was great. I'd love to do that again with you at some time. Can you share with us what that was before we bring this beautiful conversation to a close, and anything else that you need to say?
Well, sure. I am a facilitator, an animal communicator facilitator for a herd of horses in British Columbia, Canada, called the Singing Horse Herd. And what they do is they sing at another level, like several chakras above their head, aspects of them. Some people don't like the word higher, but that's the word I would use. Higher vibrational aspects of them sing. And it's very much like being in the field, electromagnetic field of a horse, where the person with the highest frequency wins, right? People wonder sometimes, how did the energy in the room just shift? And a child would say, oh, I just filled it with love. That's what a horse can do with their electromagnetic field of the heart. And that's what these horses can do at a much higher level, create frequencies that create a sacred space. It makes it easier for us to breathe, to feel our own energy, to receive our own information, because there is so much control energy on the planet. I think it's quickly dissipating and shifting, but it does still exist. And so what I do is work with the horses. The horses hold space. Sometimes one of the horses will go and travel with someone as if they're being hypnotized and taken to another life experience. And I will witness it and interpret for the person what I'm seeing, or if they can hear for themselves, they will let me know what's going on. And we do groups. And the one that I did for your listeners or viewers was so much fun, because while the horses were singing, I was silent, everyone was silent. And I think the horses sang 3 or 4 times in that hour and a half. And I saw us all line dancing energetically. We were all line dancing, and we were, kicking up our heels and swinging our shoulders and clapping and stomping. And I'm not a big line dancer, but that was a lot of fun. And so when we were done, I said, wow, the group of us, we were really anchoring these frequencies on the planet. And the way I saw it was we were line dancing. Well, the woman the horses had just given a message to was a line dancer in her life. So
Yeah.
I'm often given symbol and metaphor that really relates to whoever I'm working with, so that they feel really connected to the energy and the story and the trueness of what they're experiencing, that they can't write it off. Oh, well, that might have just been my imagination,
Yeah, so beautiful. Ginny Jablonski, I love you. I'm so glad you're in my life, and I'm so happy to share you on my beautiful channel. Now, you have your own amazing podcast. Can you please tell us about it? Tell us how people can get to you directly.
Yes, Interspecies Evolution is my podcast, and the purpose is to really talk about consciousness and human consciousness and the evolution of our human consciousness, and how when we begin to honor ourselves as sentient, infinite beings of light, we then begin to witness the animals as such. And so I've done about 40 interviews or so far. And it's just amazing people who, like you, like me, have really had a difficult, challenging life experience. I know that's a judgment, but it's the best way to describe it. And we have gone on a journey of inner exploration and learned, and they all believe different things, and that doesn't matter to me what anybody believes. The most important thing is that they perceive themselves and they honor themselves, and they want to celebrate each and every one of our journey. And so that's at interspeciesevolution.com. And you can reach me on my website, ginnyjablonski.com.
Beautiful. I love that. Ginny, I think that you and I should make a plan to come back together again in January of 2024 and bring some more information, because that's a great time. Again, this is the time where people, going into family environments, those that have families, and some of these family environments are not good, they're not healthy, they're challenging. Hopefully some of the information we've given with people firing their guides and choosing how they heal the past, because the only thing we can do with coping with tricky people at Christmas is to make a decision. We know what pisses us off about the people we're going to be around. So the only thing we can do is choose how we're going to react or respond to them going in. We can decide it's not going to bother me. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to make myself smile instead of snarl when I see them or think about that. Again, this is how we heal the past, the connection to that person. And then in the new year, people are ready to often, because again, it's a program, but why not? At least it's there. At least it is a kind of a springboard for people to say, right, New Year's resolutions, which I never make because I never keep them. But I don't like that organized pressure either. So that's why I rebel against it. But some people, that's good for them. That's what they do. So I think it'd be great to come together and to give, these beautiful people that watch some more tips and energy clearing, like setting intentions and whatever the bloody words used in the spiritual revolution that's been so badly hijacked. But I'm sure you'd love to come back, right?
Are you kidding me? Absolutely. We are evolving so quickly. Things are changing so quickly. I would love to talk about any number of things that we as humans are experiencing right now. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Ginny Jablonski, thank you so much. And we'll see you in January 2024 then. Perfect. And to you guys out there, again, thanks for being here, and keep subscribing, because you guys are getting removed. It is not me doing it. It is BoobTube. YouTube is doing it because of the information that comes out on my beautiful channel. I am here. I'm still here. I'm always going to be here in some regard. And so stay with us, and we love you. And I want to say a very Happy Christmas. In England, we say Happy Christmas or Merry Christmas, and people, oh, don't say that. I'm going to say it because, like UFO, I've always said it. And, you know, Christmas to me is about, you know, giving presents to people. It's about connecting and, you know, making things prettier. And it's just a happy, joyful time from childhood. And I like those feelings. And so I'm going to listen to what they all mean, but I'm still going to decide which of these am I going to choose to continue with full awareness and dispel the black magic, the pagan darkness, the Illuminati darkness, the satanic darkness. I'm going to choose to be in the light and decide what I am going to do in this Christmas period. And I invite you guys to do the same or not. It's up to you. My name is Dani Henderson. I do send you my love, and I'll see you in January 2024.